Thanks. Incredibly humbled to be here, and one thing that's really encouraging to me is having social entrepreneurs come together, right? Social entrepreneurs somewhere deep within us, in our gut, believe that a better world can exist, right? We believe that if we apply our skills, our talents, maybe give up some nights and weekends and some of our resources, that we can actually make the world a better place. And I love that. And I love that people are gathered right here in New York City to talk about that and to encourage each other. So one of the things that we as social entrepreneurs are constantly trying to do is to get other people to care as much as we do, right? We care deeply. Every one of these pitchers cares deeply about a cause, and we're constantly trying to get people to jump on our bandwagon and join us, to care as much. Because if everybody cared as much about the problem as we did, things would change, wouldn't they? Right? So what we sort of stumbled upon at 100 Cameras, which is an organization I'm the chairman of the board for and have been a part of since its early founding a few years ago in 2009, is we sort of stumbled on an engagement model for social entrepreneurism. Right? So what normally happens when we try to engage people in a problem is we use things like statistics, which can be really good things. And by the way, I'm really guilty of this, and my organization's guilty of it. I'm repenting right now. But we do things like this. We say, hey sir, did you know that there are 1 billion people that are below the extreme global poverty line, right? That live on less than $1.30 a day. And by the way, that $4 Starbucks latte that you drank this morning, it could have saved 55 of those kids' lives, right? And what does that do to Mr. Smith over there? He checks out and disengages, right? And oh, by the way, Mr. Smith, you want to see this? Look at this photo of this kid. And this kid's like marginalized in this ravaged situation. And Mr. Smith checks out, right? He has no interest in engaging in this. He basically becomes apathetic and walks away, right? Like most of the 7 billion people on this planet that aren't below that poverty line, they're pretty apathetic to it because they don't think they can do anything about it. And what we found was that we went into this orphanage in the South Sudan with some cameras, not to start a nonprofit. We just thought that by bringing a few cameras and giving them to kids that were marginalized and had literally almost no hope in life, that we might give them a little bit of hope for something, for a better life. These were kids who had a lot of times never even seen their own faces before. We gave them cameras, they took pictures of each other, and they found that like smiling was actually sort of contagious and cool. And they started taking pictures and smiling and loving it, right? And we thought that was the end of the story. We brought a few kids home in an orphanage in the South Sudan, and that was it. No, Susanna brought these pictures back to New York, and she showed them to her friends, and people were amazed, right? People that are used to seeing this photo that made Mr. Smith check out and become apathetic saw this photo, a photo that showed hope, right? A hope for a better future, that same hope that us social entrepreneurs believe in deep in our heart. And people wanted to engage in that. They said, how do I engage? How do I become a part of that? And we said, well, buy this photo. And we'll take the money and we'll send it back to the orphanage, right? And the orphanage is there for long term. They're creating sustainable long-term change for these children, and they'll use it for things that they need, right? Local solutions to local problems. We're not going to go in there and tell them what problems they need to solve or what vaccines they need to use, right? So that was the engagement model that we created. And guess what? Not only did we bring hope to these kids through the photos, and we brought hope to these donors over here that were buying the photos, but we went back to that kid and we said, hey, that picture that you took, that photo that you took, somebody 5,000 miles away bought it. And that money from that photo sale came back into your community and provided vaccinations for 250 people, right? Guess what that kid did? The kid walked a little bit taller the next day, right? That kid became engaged in helping solve the problem in their community, right? So it's a model of hope and engagement and empowerment. And that's sort of the model that we stumbled on at 100 Cameras. We've now done a project in Cuba, in the South Sudan. We've done one here in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and we just got back from India in the fall. We have done a very poor job throughout our thing because we never set out to found a nonprofit. We just were kind of trying to bring hope to some kids. We've always done a poor job of like doing institutional fundraising. We've primarily just sent money back. So for the first time, we're doing a pretty big fundraiser right now for institutional funding that's happening online. So I encourage anybody that's been moved by this or our story to check that out. It's at 100cameras.org. We're also looking for passionate people to come on board and help us explore. We think that this goes way further than just selling photos. We think there's other things we can sell that can bring more money into these communities and create more change. We think this model can be applied to other organizations. We can teach it to other people and have them use it as a fundraiser for their own organization. So looking for people to help us engage and explore what that means and what it looks like. Thanks.